Hello, everyone. So welcome to our SDBI podcast session. And today I have here my special guest, Tim from ICE. So he's going to talk a little bit about his School of English in London. And thank you for coming to our interview, Tim. It's a great pleasure having you here. And also would like to thank my sponsors for helping us to make this interview come true, because nowadays everything is so difficult to deal with. And now we have Tim from the other side of the world, and also the time zone that sometimes is a problem. And thanks for being so nice and lovely for sharing your knowledge and your school with us today. So before I start the interview, I'd like Tim to ask you just to introduce yourself and tell a little bit your story with teaching languages and also your educational background, if you don't mind.
Okay, will do. Well, first of all, thank you so much, Sabrina, for having me on today. It's a great pleasure to be here. It's just 4 o'clock in the afternoon in London at the moment, so it's quite a nice time to do this. I've just had a quick cup of coffee, so I'm full of beans. Right, yes. So, well, a little bit about me and the school. You might see behind me, or if you're listening, perhaps I can just tell you, I'm the owner and director of the Islington Centre for English. I started the school about 17 and a half years ago now. And I always remember that number because it's the same age as my oldest daughter, who was born 17 and a half years ago. So that way I can always remember, you know.
Nice.
Although pretty crazy starting a business when you just had a baby, but that's another story.
Definitely very brave, by the way.
Yeah, very brave or stupid, I don't know. It's been a wonderful journey. I was an English language teacher for many years before I started the school, so I know I must be pretty old now. But anyway, I was teaching for at least, I think, 15 years before I started the school, and it's something I had a real passion for. I was also a musician, which is an interesting mixture, because so many language teachers, certainly in London, have a creative or an artistic side to them too. So they teach English.
So this is new.
Well, that's why. So actually playing the guitar is what started me teaching English a long time ago. So that's always been fun. And the teachers we have at Islington Centre for English are very often very creative. We have a playwright, we have a musician, we have a songwriter, and an actor, various writers. So it's a really lovely creative atmosphere. I was a teacher, as I say, for many years before I started the school. And then I've often felt that the schools I was teaching at really didn't put spoken fluency at the heart of what they were teaching. And I felt that we could do that better. And that was one of the reasons I started the school. So whilst we teach reading, writing, speaking, listening, and grammar, we always think giving somebody the tools to speak as much as possible, to build their confidence, build their vocabulary, build their fluency as much as possible is really the number one priority in any language. So we can get you off the ground quickly. You know, if you're in a country, your reading and writing and grammar might be fantastic, but it doesn't help you when you're looking at a road sign, you know, or trying to ask directions. Or it's true, yes. So that's that. And I did a lot of teaching at the beginning. I did a bit of everything really.
Mm-hmm.
And now we grew very, very rapidly. And then we got British Council accreditation in 2007. And then we started welcoming students from absolutely everywhere. And as I say, it's been a wonderful journey, loads of fun. We have students from every corner of the globe. So we have some Brazilian students, we have Japanese, French, Spanish, Italian, Russian, everywhere, really.
Everywhere.
Cool. It's great fun.
And what are the biggest advantages for Brazilians choosing your school instead of anywhere in this big world?
Well, I like to think we're the best, but I'm a little bit biased. We're in an amazing location in central London, just opposite Angel Station. So we say a stone's throw. You can throw a stone from the station. It's less than 1 minute to our station in Islington, which is a really vibrant, multicultural, very cultural area with lots of theatres and cinemas and cafes, pubs, clubs. So there's a great party atmosphere, particularly at night. And I know Brazilian students love to go out and have fun. And that's I hope I'm not stereotyping too badly. I think that's true, isn't it? Brazilian students love to go out to the pub. They're very sociable, and really that's the best way to improve your language as well. You know, so that's really very, very very competitive. And I'm the owner and director. I'm always around. I get to meet the students face to face. And if they've got a problem, they can knock on my door and say, Tim, I've got a problem with something, and I can help directly. So I think that's a great combination.
Definitely. I couldn't agree more. And this is what makes difference, don't you think? Because they feel safe, they feel welcome, they feel like I have somebody to support me. Because when we travel abroad, it doesn't matter. Sometimes we do have an advanced level of English, but the culture shock, I think in the beginning, it's so intense that sometimes we get lost. And I have a lot of students who can communicate, they can speak English very well, but sometimes in the first class, they say like, Sa, I couldn't understand a word. Like they were just frozen, you know?
I know. Often I mean, it's a very scary, it can be a very intimidating experience. But so what we try to do is be as silly and funny and silly as possible. And that helps people relax and realize that if this guy is being so silly, then I can't have anything to worry about. You know, that's my approach. Yes, and we've got so much experience of it, and languages as well on our team, so we can all speak different languages. So there'll be somebody with some Portuguese that can help.
Oh, this is cool. I didn't know that. So do you have like support from school if they need a translator maybe, or any support in terms of language?
Yeah, we can always find somebody. There's a teacher that speaks Japanese, one speaks Portuguese, another who speaks French, another Spanish. So we can always find somebody to help. And then if you come over with an agency, for example, maybe Intercambio, as an example, or somebody from your school, you know, you can always give them that support and help.
And what is your tip for this student who has just arrived and he completely feel lost, and he says like, oh, I can't understand a word. So when I arrived, so what this student can do to improve that and also feel more confident in terms of speaking?
Well, I think there are a few basic things you need to organize before you come that would be very sensible. So you need to know where your accommodation is. Okay, and you need to have a map. We're very lucky with Google, of course, these days, Google Maps. You should really be able to find everything. So find your accommodation, know where your language school is, of course. And also there are networks. London is such an international city that you'll find that it's almost impossible that you haven't got a cousin or a friend of a friend who isn't in London already, right? And so have that telephone number in your phone, and if you feel really worried, give them a call. I think that's a good piece of advice.
Definitely. And can anyone do a language program?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we will take anybody who speaks English as a second language. So we teach everyone from absolute beginner up to advanced and proficiency level. That's C1 to C2 level. So there are always new words to learn. Pronunciation, if it's not your first language, there are always opportunities to learn. I know, I mean, obviously I'm a native English speaker, but I learn English words quite regularly because the vocabulary is enormous.
We are always changing, right? So the language is flexible. So
Absolutely. You find that particularly if you have children and older children like I've got now. They teach me new words all the time.
oh, it's true. I do have my two
Not always
kids.
nice ones.
No, no. Sometimes they are not that nice. Cool. It's cool because sometimes I feel like my students who are beginners, they don't feel confident to travel because they think about the first steps of the international trip. For example, customs and at the airport, or sometimes ask for directions or ask for help. So I do recommend them sometimes to have some English classes previously to get a little bit more confident about their English level, and after decide to apply for a language program like that, because the experience must be complete, must be wonderful. And sometimes if you go there and you cannot even communicate, you are going back home because most of them, they have a short period that they can travel, so they will come back feeling frustrated and disappointed. So what do you think about that? Do you also recommend them to have some background in their country, like home town?
Yes, I really do. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's great advice. If you're going to go from, say, Sao Paulo to London to study for 6 months, for example, or even 1 week, I think if you can get the absolute fundamentals, the absolute basics before you travel, it's a really good idea. So, hello, how are you? What time is it? Where is the station? Can I have a sandwich, please?
Yes, true.
Well, yeah, maybe you need a flavor of sandwich, wouldn't you? A cheese sandwich. Could I have a cheese sandwich, please?
Cheese, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
We usually teach survival English before they go.
Yeah.
But I also think about the environment inside the classroom, because they need to communicate to other languages, to other cultures. And sometimes we have the accent that it's a little bit different, because Brazilians, we are more used to getting American accent, and sometimes going to a British country, we struggle a little bit in the beginning to understand. So all the piece of advice that we usually give to our students in terms of preparing themselves before they travel. So I guess, as you said, of course, you have to think some strategies, like to have something in mind, but also know where you are going, etc. So why do they choose London? Like what is the differential about choosing London as this place for improving English?
I mean, I'm a Londoner, so I'm born and bred in London, and I love it. And well, certainly my father was born and bred in London, and we have a real connection to the city. Some people absolutely love London and have London in their minds for many years and say this is the only place I want to go to. It's a world-class city. It really is one of the world's great cities, I think. And I visited Sao Paulo too, which is a wonderful city, and that's absolutely enormous, beautiful cultural cosmopolitan city. And London in many ways is similar, with some wonderful history as well. So you've got, Tower Bridge, Nelson's Column, you've got the Islington Centre for English, Oh, only joking. Not sure I want to compare those two things, but yes, no. You have so many famous sites to see, such great history going right back to the Romans, and the nightlife is amazing here. If you like international food, it's a fantastic city because you've got every imaginable kind of cuisine, and you've got great choice. People say that London is a city that never sleeps, and if you're tired of London, you're tired of life, they say, because there's always something to do.
Amazing quote.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, Samuel Johnson, I believe. Yes, if you're tired of London, you're tired of life. And there's always something to do at any time. And it's also really anonymous. So if you wanted to be, if you wanted to have a crazy haircut or a different kind of lifestyle, nobody cares.
And also the public transportation. It's something that I particularly love about London, because you can go everywhere very easily and cheap. Like, you don't spend too much. You cross the city, for example, mainly if you are, for example, after school, after you have your class, you can go to everywhere to go sightseeing, to enjoy. So I think it's a pretty nice place to go. Sometimes, for example, I have been to Canada, and I was more limited in terms of commuting to everywhere, like going to school, going to my homestay, because the public transportation was not that efficient as we do have in London. So for me, it was a great differential for choosing it.
Yeah. The London transport. I love the London transport. We've got a new line called the Elizabeth line, which is still it's still of great interest to me to go on it, and I like to visit the stations and marvel at the architecture. I mean, there really is a great wonder of this city.
Nice.
Amazing stations.
Amazing stations, I agree. And what about thinking about this experience when a student, they decided to apply for the language program? Doesn't matter if it's going to be like 4 weeks or 36 weeks, as you have mentioned, but what do you believe this experience can add to the students' professional development, to add in their resume, for example? Because some of them, they want to travel because they want to have this experience in their resume to share, to apply for a new position, for a new company. So how do you believe this can impact their professional life?
Great question. Well, I'm not just an educator, but I'm an employer too. So I get to look at lots of CVs, and I see that if somebody has spent time abroad, it makes me think that this person is pioneering. They want to get out there, proactive. They want to explore the world. They've got a can-do attitude, and plenty of energy. So that in itself is really great. It also means that you're academically serious, because you go out and you want to improve yourself and improve your language skills. I mean, if you can, there's a framework called the CEFR scale for language assessment, which starts at A1, that's beginner and elementary, B1 around the intermediate level, B2 upper intermediate, C1 and C2. And if you can have some official certification that you are on that CEFR scale, that's the Common European Framework for Language Reference. If you can be on that framework and have a certificate to prove where you are, that's certainly going to help you when it comes to looking for a job.
Definitely. Would you hire someone who had already had this experience before, or someone who didn't have any experience?
Well, good question. I mean, I think if you've got two CVs that are absolutely the same in every way, and person A hasn't traveled and person B has, I'd go for person B every time, particularly in my industry, which is a very sort of sociable industry. Having extra languages, of course, is so useful.
But this is what I usually tell to my students. We do have plenty of companies here, which are multinational companies, and they have headquarters, head offices everywhere. And speaking a second language or a third language it's meaningful. So it's not even like it's mandatory nowadays. It's not something that you can opt. It's something that you must do. You must improve. So it makes all sense. This idea of having someone who tried to improve themselves before they apply for a new position, a new company. It's amazing. And how does the school decide how to separate the students in terms of nationalities? Like, do you prioritize to separate the nationalities according to the classes, or they can come together?
Well, I mean, our particular school is very, very multinational. So as I said, we have French, German, Italian, Turkish, Brazilian, Japanese, people from absolutely everywhere. The number one priority is our getting students into the best class for their level.
Okay.
So what we do first of all is we do a grammar test, and then we have some sort of speaking assessment, usually on WhatsApp or something, and I will do that personally with the student, and then we'll find out what their objectives are, and we'll put them in the best class. If we find that we have a lot of one nationality, although really that is not an issue at our school at the moment because we've got such a wide range of nationalities. But if a student is borderline, so borderline upper intermediate or intermediate, or perhaps there are two intermediate classes and one might be very French and there's a French person that's come in, I will say, Francois, we'll put you in upper intermediate B, for example. So yeah, we have a certain flexibility.
Awesome. And what about you were telling about the courses, you said about the CFR. We do use CFR here for classifying our students according to their levels. But do you offer any classes for prep courses, for example, for CAE or CPE or FCE?
Yeah. That's right. We do FCE, so Cambridge First, and we do CAE, that's Cambridge Advanced English exam at C1 level. We also do IELTS, so the International English Language Testing System for university or for immigration. So yeah, IELTS. So the mark is on a scale from around 3 to 9. It was a very strange scale actually that goes from 3 to 9. Who makes a scale that goes 3 to 9? Anyway,
why not 10?
Yeah, why not 10? My scale would go to 11 anyway. So IELTS for Also, if you're a doctor, you're in the medical industry, IELTS is very useful. So we do that too.
Excellent. And what other courses do you offer for the students? General English I think is the most popular one, but are there any other course for students who are looking for language programs?
It's mainly general English and exam practice. They're our main two. We also do business English. So if you want to practice English in a business context, so business emails, making a phone call at work, having a meeting, proposing presentations, that's it, exactly. Maybe proposing a new product to your marketing team, for example. So yeah, all sorts of English, but basically English.
Awesome. This is awesome. I loved it. Thank you so much, Tim. I loved our talk. I guess now the students, they have all the knowledge, the experience that they can for choosing London and ICE for studying English. And I hope to meet you soon again, face to face. I think everybody remembers when I had the chance to visit Tim in 2021. So when I 22, when I visited the city for some days, my partners and I, and it was a lovely experience. So I wish I could go recently with my students and also show them this amazing place. I loved your school. I loved your approach. You are an amazing professional. Congratulations. And thanks for being with us today. It was a great pleasure again.
The invitation is open anytime.
Wow. Thank you, Tim.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
See you soon.
See you soon. Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye-bye.